This is a university information evening for international universities. So I'm going to kind of put a disclaimer out there to start out with, and that is that we don't deal with local universities. So local university applications are not something that we do. We have a little bit of knowledge, but enough to be dangerous. So what our speciality is international education. And so that you know a little bit about what it is that we do at IE Abroad is we partner with about 250 universities in 13 countries, and we provide a free service to students. And we are supported by our university partners, which means that we can help students with the whole process of admissions applications and the whole process until visas and getting on the plane. But to start with first things first, I'm going to talk from a couple of perspectives here, because I am not only am I an international study advisor, I also have a child studying overseas. So I can wear the mom hat, which can be a little scary, I will admit. And I can also wear the hat of a professional who does applications to international universities. But you know, when I sit down with students, it's very important to go through a couple of what I call journey questions. And that is, when they're going to university, university is about the first step in the rest of your life. So every step of school is to prepare you for the next step. So you go to grade R to prepare you for grade 1, primary school to prepare you for high school to prepare you for university, and university to prepare you to get a job and be off our payroll. I mean, let's be honest. The whole point of university education is to get kids independent and working on their own. But with that, university is not just about the skills that you learn. It's about going from being a student, a high school student, to being a learner and being able to develop critical thinking. So some people when I sit down and talk to students, I get differing reactions. There's a lot of deer in headlights looks from the students, because you ask them, so what do you want to do? And as it comes out of my mouth, I actually hate the sound of that, because to be honest, I'm 55. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I am a trained engineer, just to give you, not to be autobiographical, but just so that you know where I come from. As you can tell, I'm not from here. I'm Canadian born, grew up in the States. I'm an engineer by training. I have a couple of degrees in engineering, and I am now on career number 7. So when I ask kids, what do you want to study, or what do you want to be when you grow up, I kind of like cringe in myself, because who actually knows what they want to be when they grow up? I mean, really. So, you know, I think it's really important, because what happens at university, 30% of what's really important happens in the classroom, and the rest of it happens outside the classroom. So just to kind of, this is quite a long process, and I'm not going to take the time to walk through now, because I want to kind of get through a lot of information about the nuts and bolts of university decisions, though the nuts and bolts of actually doing applications is really not that important to worry about. We do that in our sleep. That's what we do. The important part is to get to the point where your child, or you, if you're a student, know where you want to apply. So timeline-wise, I get a lot of students, especially now. Today, I've had 5 panic phone calls from new matrics going, oh my gosh, I haven't done applications yet. No panicking. There is no time. There is no need to panic. For international education, unless you want to do veterinary science or medicine, you really only need to apply once you have your prelim marks or your NSC. I usually tell kids, grade 10, 11, you're on a fact-finding mission. This is your time. Get a notebook. If you want to go to university internationally or even locally, get a notebook. It's your fact-finding mission. That notebook is only about university, and you're going to answer some questions for yourself, which may not be very obvious, and some of them may take some research. And then grade 12, you're starting to narrow down your choices, maybe of the country you want to go to, of the university you want to go to, of what you want to study. By the middle of grade 12, you're going to close that notebook and not open it again, because your grade 12 mid-year marks, your prelim marks, and your NSC, the marks in your NSC is going to be the most important.
And as Heidi's saying, it's an interesting question because a lot of people are panicking, grade 12s right now, thinking that they haven't applied and they're not going to get in, and they've run out of time. And something I just wanted to touch on first. I think Heidi was saying, with regards to when to apply, you only need to worry about really doing it when you've got your grades or towards the end of grade 12. Just to note on that, that's actually mostly for Northern Hemisphere schools. So if a student's applying to, say, Australia and New Zealand in the Southern Hemisphere, they will start a little bit earlier. So they will need to start around about the beginning of grade 12. And we'll use those prelim results, much like going to a Southern African university. Similar sort of timelines as local. But when it comes to the Northern Hemisphere, the students normally only start around September the following year. September, October, unless they're going to the USA, they might start August. So it really does leave us quite a lot of time to apply. And we're actually at an advantage because if you think about a local student in, say, the UK, they'll only get their results around August, and they have to start in September. So it's a really quick turnaround for those students. So our process for applications normally starts around about October, November, and then we kind of finish that application the January, Feb time when the results come out from our either our A-levels or our matric. And then we can look at accepting those offers. So by the time January comes, February comes, we've got applications on the table. We kind of have an idea of where we're going to go, and then we'll use those results to know which ones we're going to actually get into, and then be able to choose the one that's right for us. So it leads us quite a long time between matric starting now and right up to when they actually need to apply. The process from now till the end of the year, as Heidi was saying, is focus on your studies, number one. Enjoy yourself, number two, have some fun, but you can use this time to do research, speak to my team, and learn about what options are available. And we can help you with deadlines and things like that. There's no need to worry.
I want the kids who are listening to get out a notebook. And so I'm going to give you, just run through a few questions, jot some things down. First of all, do you want to go to university? There are lots of options for not university. If you want to do something else, we partner with the New York Film Academy. They've got unbelievable one-year certification programs that get kids ready to be in the film industry. So, there are all kinds of other options. There are gap year options, where we actually have a partner that runs an unbelievable gap year program where you can actually get college credits in the States while you travel around and go to university in different places. And I won't go into details. If you want more details on that, of course, we can always provide that for you. Do you want to stay in South Africa, or do you want to go abroad? Some kids go, yeah, I really want to go abroad. And then when they actually start thinking about, oh, it's going to be far away, and if I overdraw my bank account, mom and dad aren't there, and what happens if my phone gets cut off, which has all happened to us with our child. And it's they learn quickly, but kids really have to stop and think. It's no shame if they're not ready for it. And if you're going abroad, which countries interest you? Is language an issue? In other words, going to a country where English isn't your first language, is that a big deal? That is something that is important for a child to answer. Do you feel confident enough if you go to Hungary to make your way around with a bit of broken, Afrikaans with German, and that's something to decide. Does living in a country where your parents are many time zones away bother you? So this is a very interesting question because we get it a lot, and I discuss it a lot with students. They're okay being far away if mom and dad are on the same time zone, because actually it doesn't feel that far as if you are 9 time zones away. And I can just tell you from personal experience, the time zone challenge where you're going to sleep when they're getting up and vice versa makes things feel a lot farther away. And really, these kids at the age of 18 or 19 are immigrating on their own. So it's something to really consider when you stop and think about it. If I go to the States where it's 7 to 10 hours time difference, or 6 to 10, depending on the season, Is that really too far for me? Let's see. Also climate. You know, there are a lot of Capetonians who go, no ways I'm living in the UK where it's cold and gray for 6 months of the year. You know, I want to go to Australia and New Zealand. That's an important thing to consider. Is the familiarity of the country important to you? Have you traveled there before with your family? Now, those are kind of, you know, lifestyle questions. Then it's important to start considering the type of university you want to go to. So questions like, we just had a meeting with PACE, which is a fantastic university in New York City. Great university if you want to work in the financial district. If you want to work in the city, you are at university in the middle of a city, and all of your work experience is going to be in the city. So do you envision yourself in a university in the middle of a big city? Do you want to be in a university that is like a big university in the countryside, like Loughborough, for instance, which is one of the biggest campuses in the UK? That's a big, you know, sprawling campus. Do you want to be somewhere like Trinity College Dublin, that's in the middle of the city, or UC Dublin, that's out in the countryside? Those are all things that are important to consider. And as well as that, the size of the university. Do you want to be at a university that's 7,000 or 8,000? Do you want to be at a university that's, you know, 20,000? Or, you know, when I dropped my daughter off at Arizona State in August of 2019, there are 50,000 people on campus. It is a whackload of people running around that campus. It is a city on its own, largest university in the United States. So those are all things to consider. Do you want to be in a college town? Do you want like a lot of kids when they think about going to the United States, you know, do you want to be on that campus where there are the football games and the sorority parties, fraternity parties, and all that going on? Or do you want to be in more like a PACE type environment where you're in the city? Those are all important questions to answer. Being an international student on campus sometimes can be challenging, sometimes not. Luckily, like all the universities that we work with offer their courses in English. Our students are primarily English speaking, so there's not really a huge language barrier. But you still are an international student. How do you feel about being an international student where you're going to be in the minority? And then other things is the type of learning on campus. So some universities have small classes where you've got a very high faculty to student ratio. Other universities, you know, you'll have my first class at the University of Florida, undergraduate civil engineering, 800 people in a huge auditorium. I was like, it was completely overwhelming. I never went back to class. Don't do that, guys. But I went back to class twice that term, and I taught everything to myself out of my book because I was just completely like frozen by that. Now, I've had a question before. What are the advantages of large universities versus small universities? So I'm just going to take a minute or two because this is something it depends largely on how kids learn. If they learn in a very busy environment, if they learn in, you know, if they really need that one-on-one kind of, environment to learn. The other big thing is you get a lot of students who are undecided when they're starting university. They're not exactly sure. And can I tell you, if kids say, I know exactly what I want to do, 30% of them actually stick with that. And that is not a criticism. That it's what happens when kids leave home and they go to university and they get to know themselves and they realize, actually, I think I want to do something else. And that's fine. One of the best systems for that is the United States. You do not have to declare your major till the end of year 2. Unless you're doing pre-med, pre-vet, where you have to, you know, pick up those heavy sciences, but even so, you can pick those up later. So, but in the UK, you really need to know what you want to do from day one, because it's very difficult to change. However, in Scotland, it's a 4-year system. In Ireland, it's largely a 4-year system. especially in the sciences, where you have a bit of leeway in your first year to take a lot of different elective courses, where you can try different things. So deciding on where to go also is affected by the ability to chop and change, to be able to change major paths midstream. And you know, the US system is very good for that. A lot of times the larger universities have more degree options. So if you're looking at a university that's got 7,000 or 8,000, their degree options might be less. The offerings are going to be less than a university that's like, you know, 100,000. You know, like University of Arizona, Arizona State with all their campuses is over 120,000, I think, or something like that. They've got 356 undergraduate majors. It's a whack load of majors. Sometimes that can be overwhelming. So I think the balance of the sizes of universities is you have to look at, and I'm going to just touch on rankings here. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox because that's going to be an hour long. I've got a lot of opinions, which I should probably put a disclaimer about right now. But it's very important when you're looking for a program to ignore rankings, ignore overall rankings, because you can go onto our website. We've got some great videos there that some of our partners did about rankings in the UK and rankings in the US. Be very careful. You want to look for a program, for instance, if you want to study the arts, but you get accepted to Harvard because Harvard's the number one ranked university in the world. That doesn't really matter, because the arts isn't great. You actually want to go to NYU. I'm just giving you an example. So it's important to look for the program you want to study if you know exactly what you want to study, and look for the ranking of that program within the universities. So if you want to study the arts or theater or drama, University of Kent in the UK is brilliant for that. You know, you're not going to get drama at Loughborough. They don't even have a drama degree. So it's very important to look for the things that, and that's not necessarily the one thing that you want to do, but different things that you want to do, maybe the 2 or 3 things you want to do. Make sure that the university you're going to has those options for you. Okay, we've had questions about medicine. We've also had questions about exams for the United States. Okay, so for the US, in the past, the SAT was required. For the schools that we work with, SATs are not required, except in the state of Florida. The state of Florida requires SATs of everybody. Don't know why. It's just the way it is. If you want to be a student athlete in the United States, then you do have to take the SAT. All of our other universities, if you go through us, you do not need to take the SAT. Our universities waive SATs for our students. If you want to apply to universities that are not ours, then you do need to take the SAT. There are 1 or 2 programs, very specific programs, like at the University of South Carolina, if you want to study international business, for some reason that major requires the SAT. By and large, our universities do not. GREs are largely also put aside for postgraduate programs. I think everybody here is on CAPS or the IEB system. If there are any Cambridge students, please message me directly, because our Cambridge students in this country have a slightly more difficult time with some applications. But our NSC is actually quite widely recognized. The only country where there is not direct entry into universities available for kids who do well in their NSC is in Holland. So Holland has a 2-pronged system where there's research universities and universities of applied sciences. The University of Applied Sciences you can get direct entry into with our NSC certificates with the IEB or CAPS curriculum, but you cannot in the research universities for most programs. There are some university programs that you can get direct entry into, but they're like creative writing and some of the English programs. So it varies by university. But by and large, in the United States, in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, New Zealand, I'm trying to think of other. Hungary, our NSC, if kids do well on our NSC, they'll get admitted to university. That's not a problem at all. Medicine we've touched on. Medicine, there are, for the UK, the deadline I believe is in October. I think Maxine, if you're listening, please will you just pop in the date, the cutoff date for applying for medicine in the UK. We have a new medical school that we've just partnered with in Grenada. We also have really interesting options for medicine in Hungary, where their medical program is actually taught in German, Hungarian, or English, and it's about half the price, if not less, than going to the UK. It's a really good option for medicine. Thank you. The deadline for medicine is the 15th of October, the year before the kids want to start. So if you want to start in September, it's the previous October. And also some medical schools require the UCAT or the BMAT, which is the medical school admissions test in the UK. So make sure that's done by August, before the October date. So that's really important. Okay, I've covered how admissions work, the different curricula, university rankings. I'm not going to get into much more than that. I've had questions about working. So most countries do have stay-back visas. Stay-back opportunities for work experience after you've finished your degrees. So, and they vary by country, but most of them it's a year or two, and after a master's program, sometimes it's more. So that is part of the big advantage to international study. And the other thing that I would really encourage a lot of kids to do is to try to get some of that experience while you're in school. So some universities have work-study programs, work placement programs where you can do an honors in 4 years, and one of those years you go and get some experience. It's a really, really important thing to do. First of all, it gives you an idea of what you might be doing with your degree when you finish. And also, it gives you kind of a foot into the work world, and people will. I can't remember what the percentage is, but the percentage is quite high of kids who actually get hired by the companies that they do their work placement with. So I would highly recommend it to do a work placement program. It's readily available in the UK at many universities. Holland, a little bit less. The US and Canada, very, very well established on the college campuses to be able to be placed. Best schools for law, USA and the UK. That was a question. So law is an interesting question. In the States, as Brent has kind of put it in the chat, in the States, law, you have to do a 4-year degree in something, can be anything, as long as you write your LSAT, which is a law school admissions test, in those 4 years. And then it's another 3 years before you then do the equivalent of articles. So the important thing about law is that you need to go to school to learn law where it is that you intend on living. Even in the United States, there are 50 states. You have to pass the bar in every state if that's where you want. Wherever it is that you are going to practice is where you have to pass the bar. So it's really, really important to understand that law is different everywhere you go. If you're going to live in the UK, then you study law in the UK. If you're going to live in the States, you study law in the States. And it's very important to make that decision as to where you think you're going to live before you write the bar, because the bar establishes where you're going to practice. There is one university in the States, which is one of our partners, called the University of Arizona, which has a Bachelor of Law degree, the only one in the United States. It is not law school. You cannot practice as a lawyer, but it does give you the option to practice, to go into business where you have a law specialty, but you are not an accredited attorney. It's a fantastic program for kids who think they may want to do law, or who are interested in law and want to hold a position of legal advisor in a company. Which universities in the USA would you recommend for engineering is a question. So in the US, there are a lot of really good engineering schools. And again, it's important to know what kind of engineering you may or may not want to do. There's some universities that specialize in different areas. If you look at rankings, MIT is going to be the #1 ranked university. Do I think that the education you get at MIT is like streaks ahead of a lot of other engineering schools? Personally, my opinion, not necessarily. I think that for an undergraduate degree, I think that you should plan on spending more money on a graduate degree than an undergraduate degree, and your undergraduate degree should be good enough to get you into a good graduate program. As far as undergraduate engineering programs, and I'm talking undergraduate, if I look among our partner universities, we have a lot of really good engineering options. One of the best, in my opinion, is Arizona State University, and that's not just because I'm a Sun Devil mom. My daughter's a Sun Devil at ASU, but it is a very highly ranked engineering school. It's got one of the most diverse offerings in engineering. Their higher rate out of engineering school is very high. And the school is known #1 ranked school in the States for innovation. And that's really, really important. And as I say this, what's important to think about when you're doing your research, you're looking at and every university hires high-end marketing companies to do their websites. And there are some really, really good websites out there. So, every place can look amazing, and it's not always as amazing in person. But a really important thing to consider when you're looking at various programs, the most important statistic, and you can find any statistic under the sun. What is the percentage of students who are employed within 6 months of graduation or have gone on to a graduate program? Because honestly, remember, the whole goal of this is to get the kids off our payroll and working and productive. So your most important statistic, if you're looking at a program for your child in engineering or anything else, you want to see upwards of a 90% employment rate, in my opinion. Again, my opinion. But those are the schools that are going to be placing kids in industry. Now, one of the big advantages to the large state schools in the United States is that they survive on research money. They survive on multinational corporations throwing grants at them to do research on campus. And now, what does that mean for your child? What that means for your child is that they have access to be able to participate in research through a company on campus. That's giving them exposure to potential employers, to what's going on, to staying at the forefront of all of the innovations. So that's really important. You look at Oregon State University, fantastic engineering program. Washington State, Colorado State. Now, I'm a big fan of Colorado State University, mostly because I'm a ski bum, and you can see the ski hills. It's one of the most beautiful campuses in the United States. You're going to get a great education. Engineering school is top shelf, and you get to ski every weekend on a ski bus that costs you $5 to go. So great engineering program. I'm trying to think. Other ones, University of South Florida, really good engineering program. Quite a few of the Florida schools are very well known for their engineering programs. University of Kansas. I have got a lot of questions I've had people saying to me like, well, why should we use you? Well, you don't have to use us. You can use anybody. I'll tell you what I think we're really good at. We will tell you what we don't do. What we don't do is we don't charge money for any of our services. You may have to pay money, for instance, UCAS has a fee that you have to pay. It will cost you money to process your visa, not through us, but through whatever embassy it is. All of those things we can't do anything about. For us, our services are completely free. If you want to go to the US on a sports scholarship, we can't help you with that. You're going to have to go to another agency with whom we do have an association that we can recommend. There are other agencies where you pay money up front. There's no guarantee that they have the same relationship with universities. That is the big plus to what we do, is our relationships with universities. At any one time today, a student phoned me and said, I'm interested in Loughborough, I want to do this or that. Phone Loughborough, get somebody on the phone, connect them and go, okay, I've got all these questions, fantastic. And off you go. So we have those very developed relationships with our universities. Let's see, I had a question about other countries besides the UK and the US. It would be good to hear from you what questions you have about other countries, where else that you would like to study. And post-study. Okay, I've been asked to talk about post-study. So post-study, I think this is about, Brent, what is it that you want me to discuss about post-study?
It's a question that was actually asked earlier. I'm going to try to jump back to find who was asking that, so I can make sure it. Apologies. Anyway, I was talking about post-study visas. Someone was asking about, immigration afterwards, or would they have a course that would count towards their immigration or staying back? So I think it's kind of a broad question, and to kind of put a disclaimer there, we're not immigration advisors.
We're not immigration.
We can't help you with immigration,
yeah,
but it's very hard to separate the two, because there's always the opportunity when you graduate that you want to stay on and you want to work and you want to live and you potentially want to stay on forever, and that's a big part of effectively what is studying abroad. So I'll let Heidi touch on the different options for different countries, because it's actually quite straightforward in a sense that they have kind of like set programs that when you graduate you'll go on and get this. And once you've done that post-study visa, then it's up to you to carry on. And there's opportunities to carry on after that to continue staying in the country. But we're not going to really be able to advise you on from that. We have to, our line is kind of drawn in the fact that we can advise you on what post-study opportunities are available in terms of visas, but not necessarily on how to get them and post that visa, what to do. Sorry, thanks, Heidi.
So the staying on after, and we do recognize that a lot of people want to study abroad so that they can, it's kind of the easiest way is on a student visa to get into a country. What's very important to say up front is that if you go to the US Embassy or the UK Embassy or anywhere, the Dutch Embassy, if you go there and you say, I want a student visa and yes, I want to stay on afterwards, you're going to get a big fat denied. You've got to actually say, I'm going there to get my education so that I can come back to South Africa and make it a better place. Even though it may be that your intention is to really want to stay, but it's very difficult to get a student visa. While you're living in a country on a student visa, it does not count. In most countries, again, we are not immigration advisors, but in most countries, you cannot count your time on a student visa towards your your residency requirement for establishing residency or citizenship in that country. The best way to do it is obviously on a stay-back visa. Obviously do a great job for a company. You then say, we can't live without this person. We're going to sponsor them to become a citizen or a permanent resident in this country. So even though we know that a lot of times your intention is to go there and to make a life for yourself in another country, you can't really say that up front. And you have to, on a student visa, you can work, but there are limited there are limited opportunities on a student visa in some countries and not in others. But in a lot of places, you can work with a student visa. You can work on campus for a limited time during the school term, and then you can work for longer periods of time in a week during like summer holidays and summer breaks. Your student visa allows you to do work placement and work internship. But again, that time does not count towards your residency requirement in a lot of places. But this is a very, when people really want to know the ins and outs of immigration, I really suggest going to an immigration lawyer or an immigration specialist. We are not immigration specialists. We process visas all the time, but the visas they're non-immigrant visas. We cannot process immigrant visas, if that makes sense. We have a partnership with the New York Film Academy that I mentioned earlier. They have excellent, you can do a Bachelor of Fine Arts in film there. There are a lot of places, almost all of the big state schools in America have film programs. In the UK, there are several, University of Western England. Okay, the most important thing, and I think to walk away from here, is that it's important to spend the time to do your research. We are available, that's what we're here for. And what we have established, and what we spent a lot of lockdown establishing, is how to not make me a techno idiot, which as you can see hasn't worked. But we have added a few things to our webpage that we started during lockdown. And what we've done is they're called Fast and Curious. Several of our partners have recorded Fast and Curious videos where we ask the same 5 questions to some of our university partners, and it just gives you an idea of what the universities are about. So I would refer you to our resource center. I think it's on the student portal. Click on our website. Go and look at the Fast and Curious videos about some of our partners. We also have some students who contribute blogs about different topics. Read all of those. Go and do some investigating. And ask students, what it is that they love about studying wherever it is they're studying at that university or at, in that country. What is it like to study in the Netherlands? What is it like to study in Scotland? We have students all over the place, and we connect students with potential students as well. And do that research and spend the time trying to answer those questions for you. We have a list of institutions on our website as well.
If you scroll this video down, the click to that that link is actually at the bottom of this video. So you can actually scroll down and you'll see there's a view our partner list, and it says click here and you can see our partner.
Yes, as I said, if you go to our expo booth, we've got University of Hertfordshire here and some of our advisors as well, where you can talk one-on-one. And we are all available. You can look for our various contact details on our website. We have a very exciting, normally every year around this time, and I think I was at Waterkloof exactly a year ago today. I think it was a year ago today. Yeah, and I was there in person, and then the next day we had our fair in Joburg and saw a lot of you guys there. And what we do is we bring once a year, we have an edu sessions. We bring a bunch of our university partners to South Africa, and we have Southern Africa. We go to Cape Town and Joburg and Zimbabwe. We're going to Uganda, Nigeria as well, and we invite students to come and talk one-on-one. This year, for obvious reasons, unfortunately, we can't do it now in February. We've had to postpone until hopefully in September. But on the 3rd of March, we're doing this this hop-in platform has the ability to have booths. So instead of, I shouldn't actually claim to know anything about this. You want me to explain a little bit more? But don't explain, it's way too confusing. And we'll get to that. You can see them on the left. The important thing is, on the 3rd of March, Brent has posted in the chat a click-through. You can register, and we were counting today, we think close on 100 universities who will be represented there. We have some partners that have 25 universities under their umbrella, So we've got a huge amount of universities that are going to be there with live, their reps will be able to talk to you live like we're talking to you now. And again, it's a free event. Everything that we do for students is completely free. There's no charge for it. Please click through, register for the event, and come and join us on the 3rd, and just come and talk one-on-one to the university reps who are coming to join us.
Just to highlight that, so we've got around about 43, 44 booths. As Heidi said, some of them have multiple universities in the booth. There's going to be universities from the United Kingdom, so Scotland, Wales, England, Northern Ireland. There's going to be universities from Ireland itself, from the Republic of Ireland, from the USA, from Canada, from Australia. I think the only major country we don't have at this stage coming is probably going to be the Netherlands, but they'll fall under the Navitas banner. So there will be some Netherlands universities there, but they'll be under a group. The event runs from 2 p.m. till 7 p.m. on the 3rd of March. You don't need to be there for the whole event. It's not a presentation like this where you need to sit here and listen to us and get bored. You can jump in, have a chat to whoever you want to, and run away. Again, there's some great medical schools. Anybody talking about medicine, it's really hard for us to answer those questions in this sort of format. Come on, if you want to go down to our expo now, you'll see it on the left-hand side below sessions. It says expo. That's what will happen on the actual day. Today we've only got our booth and the Hertfordshire booth, just to give you guys a bit of a taste. But on the day we'll have over 40 booths that you can run around and explore. And there'll be a search function as well. So if you want to choose courses that you're interested in, you can look at the universities that have those courses and go in and have a chat to them. They'll have their own video function where they can present to you and answer questions, much like we did today. So it'll be a bit of a mini format to this, but within each booth, and you can ask your questions to your particular university you're interested in. Some top 100 universities, some top 50 universities coming out. I know of a couple that are, Russell Group University, some really good ranked ones. Again, a couple of USA schools are coming too. So it should be a good mix of schools, depending on where you want to go and what you want to do. We should be able to tick all your boxes. So please do come. Yeah.
And I think sorry, Brent. The important thing to take away from here is to know that there is so much information out there. And what I just really guard against, because I'm a sports mom, I stand next to, it was tennis courts, not anymore, squash courts. I'm on the beach watching surfing competitions, and I'm next to a cricket field. And oftentimes I'm wearing my university tops or whatever, and people often ask me. And some of the things I hear is really disturbing, the misinformation that's out there. So if you can take anything away from this tonight, please, we are at the other end of the phone. We have emails, we have phone numbers, and if you need any more information, please, just please phone and get firsthand information from us. There is, I hear, if you're going to the UK, you have to have written A-levels. That's absolutely not true. If you go to the States, you have to have written A-levels. Absolutely not true. Have to have SATs. If you don't, then there's no chances for you. Absolutely not true. I mean, I haven't even gotten into the options of like community colleges and, all those kinds of options in the United States, and lower priced options, in the UK or in the Netherlands, and if you have an EU passport and you go to the Netherlands, you get local fees. There's a whole lot of details, there's so much information out there about international education. The most important thing to know is we are at the other end of an email or a phone. Please do not hesitate. And please, if you have specific questions or you want to put together a plan for your child on what they want to study, please phone us. That's what we do. It's probably what I do more than anything else, because I'm just in that setting a lot, around a lot of teenagers, quite a bit. We got a question here. Okay, Dion, you asked about if she hasn't decided on the specific country, but she still has her heart on studying abroad. Our website does have a list of our university partners, but I would urge you to just send me an email and we can set up a time. I do a lot of Zoom calls with parents and children, sometimes children alone, and we chat around various things. What I haven't gotten into tonight, again, there are so many new and innovative degree paths. I mean, you can do a 4-year degree in ethical hacking at the University of Abertay. Who'd even heard of that? And the important thing to know is that what your kids are going to end up doing or working in 7 years from now, because most of them, let's be realistic, if they're in matric this year, okay, it might be 4 or 5 years from now, probably hasn't been invented yet. There are some unbelievable new, edgy, innovative degree paths for kids to go into. I mean, my own child is actually studying something I never even heard of before. And yet the job market is wide open. And there's so many opportunities. There's certain areas, ethical hacking has a 100% higher rate. Isn't that what you're looking for in the end? If a child is going that direction, maybe they want to do games design. Games design also very big, up and coming. Cybersecurity, always up and coming. We have a new university that has a puppetry, if you're into the arts, it has a puppetry degree and a costuming degree. You get a Bachelor of Design in puppetry. So there's so many innovative things, and sometimes sitting down and just talking, we haven't even touched on really the biomedical sciences. There's medicine, there's biomedical sciences, and I would urge you all to go and watch a video that we did called So You Want to Be a Doctor or Do You? It's on our website. It's one of our university partners, DMU, TJ Moore, who's the head of biomedical sciences, ex-South African. He counsels one of our students who's a student in Nelspruit, and talking about this very issue. Do you really want to go into medicine? And we talk about all of the allied medical fields. It's a fascinating discussion. And if you have any interest in medicine, in pathology, in any allied fields, please go and have a look at that. It's very, and I'm very happy. That's something that I personally, Brent, close your ears, I am very passionate about. What I love doing is talking to students and bouncing ideas around and being on a fact-finding mission. So that's really the most important thing, is to go and see. There is so much available out there, things that you never even thought imaginable. So that's a very important thing. That's probably the biggest thing to walk away from this presentation. And also, come to our March 3rd event. There is, again, it's so stimulating and it's so exciting. You can go and talk to everybody there if you want to, and they'll tell you about what their most popular degree paths are and where kids are getting the most, the most opportunity after they leave, their bachelor's or master's program. Anything else? Are there any international offering studies in SA at the same standard as studying abroad? Karina, I'm not sure I understand that question completely.
I did answer it. The only one I know of it in country at the moment is because there used to be Monash, which was an international Australian university. Now the only one that's left, I believe, is Henley Business School which is part of Reading. And I'm not sure they do undergrad.
What about Stendon?
And Stendon, of course. I'm so sorry. And they're a partner. Yeah.
NHL Stendon.
Yeah.
NHL Stendon's one of our partners. I'm going to also throw something else out there, and that is we have a partnership with a university, a global top 50 university, University of Arizona Global Campus. You can do online, you can do a full degree, you can do any combination. And remember, in the States, if you go to a state school, those credits are transferable to any other school in the United States. So you could go to the University of Arizona Global online. It's $15,000 a year. Plus, if you do well, African students are being offered anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 scholarships. I was just told today that one of our students is going to most likely get an $8,000 scholarship to that program, which means it'll be $7,000 a year for him to study. He's going to go 2 years online, University of Arizona, take those credits, and he wants to transfer to Harvard. That's his ultimate dream, to finish his last 2 years at Harvard. Whether he'll get in or not, I don't know. That's his thing. But University of Arizona Global is it's an international university. It's a top 50 or top 100. It's like 59, so maybe it's top 60, top 100. Fantastic research universities, one of the best in the country. You can do it online. You can do it in South Africa for as 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever you want to do. It is an internationally recognized degree. It does not say online when you get your degree. It says University of Arizona, and it is a fantastic. That is hands down finationly the best.
So the other one to add on to that
for an international university
is to also look at Mauritius, where we have Middlesex University
well, yeah.
and Curtin University, Australia. They both have campuses in Mauritius. I've been to the campuses. The Middlesex one is spectacular. I think it's actually nicer than the London one. It overlooks the sea. It's really beautiful. The tuition is way more affordable, so it's around about 100,000 Rand a year again, compared to studying in the UK, where it's 13,000 pounds. So it's a lot more affordable when it comes to studying that, and you get a UK degree, and you get it in 3 years as well. You get an honours degree in 3 years as opposed to 4 years in South Africa, and you study in a very, very safe, up and coming location. Mauritius is COVID free. They've got through this relatively well compared to the rest of the world. Obviously, their tourism hit a bit of a snag, but from a business point of view, it's allowed them to pivot their economy completely, and it's a place to watch. And just to see these big universities opening big campuses there is something for me that's quite interesting. And we've had quite a few students go, particularly from Zimbabwe and places like that, and the feedback has been really good. And again, the tuition is a lot more affordable, and the degree is of just as high quality as studying in the UK. They're bringing out a lot of lecturers and doing a lot of exchange. So you can even do 2 years there and 1 year in the UK, or 2 years in Mauritius and 2 years in Australia, and still qualify for post-study in Australia. So you'd save yourself about 40-50% of the tuition if you studied in Mauritius as opposed to Australia. So there's just options as well. So
There's also an option like that for medicine in Cyprus, with the University of Nicosia starting medicine there and then finishing up at St. George's in the UK. There are a lot of that. And I just want to touch on also, you answered the question from Henri Jordan about the minimum requirements and backups. And what I want to just touch on here is that a lot of kids, and I get this a lot as well, when I sit down with kids, they go, well, I'm not that straight A student, or I'm not getting 80%. Is it still possible for me? What I think the most important thing is to know that there's always an option. Always an option.
We have a very good track record.
In the UK, we have a very good track record, and we also we're very lucky to work with Kaplan International Pathways that have pathways in the UK and the US. We've got Navitas that has we work with a lot of pathway providers, Oxford International, where if you're not quite getting the minimum that you need. I've just worked with a student who's actually going to end up at a fantastic university. His marks weren't quite what he needed to get direct entry. He's actually got a fantastic offer. He's going to do a foundation at the university for a year ahead of time, just to top him up a little bit on maths and English. And then he's going to go right into his first year at that university on campus. He's going to be in the same place. He's just going to get a little bit of extra top up. Because remember, our system here is 12 years of education. A lot of other places, except for the States, Canada has 13 years, Holland has 13 years, the UK has 13 years, many other countries have 13 years. So our students sometimes do need a little bit of top up. But the most important thing is that, first of all, if you don't do great at high school, that doesn't mean that you're not going to do well at university. It's not, don't let that get you down. And also know that if you don't do as well as you think you wanted to do, there are options. Yeah. There are always options and ways to top up to get you, to where you want to go.
That's spot on, Heidi. I think that's exactly it. We always look at the student as a whole and look at all options. Unfortunately, there might not be as many options. If you're an A-grade student, you get more options. If you're not, but again, if you want to study the arts, and you're not getting A's, you're probably going to have just as many options.
Okay, so I'm just going to continue on as long as there are people who are asking questions. Stefan, do you assist with bursary applications advice? Limited. We do have some, is totally up to the university as to what advice, as to what scholarships that they offer. So what we can do is we can advise you what scholarships are available through the university. We can't promise, but our students, so the first thing that I do when a student gets accepted is I go back to the university and I say, what amount of scholarship money or bursary money is available for them. We can't help with loans internationally. I don't really have the ability to do that. But like, for instance, UC Dublin, they have, their scholarships range from about 2,000 euros up to about 7,000 or 8,000 euros, sometimes 9, for their undergraduate degrees. But then there's an additional academic excellence, I think it's called the Merit Scholarship. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but every student is allowed to compete for that. It's only one. It's a 85% scholarship, I think, or 100. It's a very high. It varies by year, and you can apply for that. And every international student is able to apply for that. And we have those kinds of scholarships available. Glasgow gives a £5,000 scholarship to our students who are, academically inclined, which is a really nice one. So yeah, so we can give you advice as far as we can tell you what's available. And then Janine, if a student wants to speak to you, is there any costs involved? No, that is what we do. That's different to everybody else. We have absolutely no cost to students. I live in Cape Town. I spend a lot of time sitting in coffee shops talking to students, or at schools. A couple of schools I go and sit, for a day, and kids can come and talk to me. And any schools, up in Joburg, we also have Shern, who is based in Joburg. If you want in-service days where you want somebody, an advisor, to be there for the day to come and speak with students, there's absolutely no cost. We are paid by our university partners. So if a student ends up enrolling in one of our partner schools, then they pay us. That said, a lot of people say, oh, well, you're going to push us to go to one of your schools. No, we're not, because the most important thing to us as a company, and what we adhere to, our standards are, it's most important for our kids to match with a school that is their best fit. So I hope that helps. We will always, we pick and choose our university partners as well. And some of our university partners have come to us because of how we work and asked us to partner with us. We are very picky and choosy about who we partner with, and we choose them very carefully for a variety of reasons, which is the topic of a whole nother discussion. So I think that's it for now. I can stay here if anybody has questions here. Otherwise, the expo is open, and there are advisors there, and Layla from the University of Hertfordshire, which is a fantastic university as well in the UK, is there. And then please I am going to just type my number into our chat here, and I have to look up my number, sorry, because I don't know it, and I'm going to type it in here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a shout or a WhatsApp, and I will also put my I think that's it. I think that's enough numbers. 3099442. And then my email address, please feel free. Give me a shout if there's anything that we can help you with. And then our website, there's a lot of resources on there, a list of institutions, blogs, videos. Help yourself. And it was great to be with you, and hopefully we'll see some of you at our March 3rd event. Come and chat to all of our university partners, and yeah, best of luck. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.